Sure. So, for those that aren't worrying about, for those that don't know what I'm talking about, it's basically like a lecture is like the lecture basically is that I'm gonna talk about like getting into PvM and what you can do to prepare yourself into it. So I'm gonna turn off the music for now so I could go make sure I do this. All right, so I'm gonna first time I apologize if it's not as like detailed as you'll like because I feel like I always like toe the line between being basic and going a bit in depth. So this might be more of like regurgitated information that I might hear otherwise, but I'm gonna do my best to answer your question regardless, even if my initial explanations aren't good enough. But let's go see it. Sorry. So now, PvM, they say that they have a lot of requirements to get into. Like, you need to have this, you need to have that, you need to have this, and you need to have all of the things. And it just, like, compiles like one big cluster of things that you just want to, or rather, they want you to get. They being other high-level PvMers. Like, they got reset. Oh, right. Give me a sec. That one's because Streamlabs doesn't really like to comply with stuff, so let me fix that right now. Wait. Oh, that's the wrong one. This is it. Alright. Anyway. Okay, back to the top. So, PvM can be hard to get into, but I also feel like that you don't really need to make it that hard. So, basically speaking, there's like a few like core things to really note for. Like, you really want overloads, you want ancient curses, you want ancient magics and lunars. You want at least your 80, 85 or higher weaponry. Doesn't matter if it's like superior ports or if it's God Wars 2 weapons or just plain old 290, 85 like ports weapons. You want the mass capabilities being corruption blast, corruption shots, and onslaught. Storm shards and shatter are nice to have, but they're not needed for anything except for like Virago. That's really it. Those are really like those are really like the only like hugely absolutely necessary thing. Some people might say like auras are also needed, but personally speaking, I wouldn't really pin for auras all that much. But auras are definitely like really good once you get into endgame, because that's when you get accuracy auras like Verdict Accuracy, Maniacal, Berserker, Reckless, Sharpshooter. All of that stuff really does make it easier to kill bosses. And then you get to like the nice to haves like Enhanced Excalibur, special weapons like Gothic Staff and Stasis Warhammer, Ring of Vigor. You can camp Ring of Vigor no problem because it still has stats and you don't really need to like swap rings. Some people will nudge you into swapping your rings, and while a lot of people have you to believe that that's like something everyone can do, you don't really need to do it. It's just like a minor thing that you do like once per minute to make things just make things like a bit nicer and to add a little bit of APM to it. So yeah. And then there's like Blade Dive, which you can basically like lets you. Oops, I don't have my Blade Dive swap. Let me go grab it right now. But basically, Blade Dive will let you like zoom around the arena like nobody's business, which is really nice to have. It lets you like move to like if you want to use Telos as an example, you can like say the beam is like going from here, you can just zoom all the way here, and you can even do it mid ability cooldown. Like you can do it like that. And same with like Surge. So if you can Surge before this goes back to neutral basically. But yes, more items swap is more chance to mess up when you start to mess up slots and mechanics. That's when you're learning like a boss, you really want to be comfortable with the boss first, and then you get to grips with the or like swaps. Or if you're really good for swaps, then you can learn the mechanics. Either way works. But if you're starting off, you need to learn boss mechanics first, and then work on your swaps and all of that. And then there's like sigil, quote unquote sigil abilities like Limitless, Ingenuity, Humans. Those are expensive and really good at the same time, but there's also like really, but they're really they're real expensive. Like Limitless is worth 2,000 Limitless Vital Sparks, and each Vital Spark is like 150k each, so that's worth quite a bit. And Ingenuity is worth around 2 augmentable onyxes, and yeah, that's also expensive at like 60 mil for something that is good, but it's not like 60 mil worth good to like a new PvMer as a whole. I said 150, not 250, but overall, yeah, it could be like that. Limitless is 2,000 now because they increased the costs. But yeah, now when starting off, you can use Revolution just fine. Don't force yourself to use manual like what like other people say to do, unless you really absolutely do need the control, like in Virago or Telos. Because like if you want to like stay in place at like a boss, you have to like move around all around like this, which can be a bit annoying. And with like Revolution, you'll be like always here. Oh, thanks for the subscription, Monado Ruda. But basically what I mean is that like if you want to like be able to do nothing, you can just like be able to like stay there with manual. But with Revolution, you have that extra bit. With Revolution, you lose that control, and you're still always using abilities, which can mess you up. But in 9 times out of 10, you don't really need that, and you can still learn fine on Revolution and go from there, because Revolution, just like manual, is a tool, and as long as you utilize that tool fine, you don't really need to switch to manual unless you absolutely do need it. Learning manual is a choice, it's not a requirement overall. Oh, nice, thank you. Thanks anyways, Monado. Very appreciated. But anyway, but that's basically it. That's like the first thing I want to get out, because manual is good, no doubt about it. But I also feel like that the importance of it is a bit overstated, because you can come close to manual with Revolution just fine as long as you know how to control it. I can't speak from experience because I do not like Revolution personally, but that's because I like to micromanage everything I got in this game, so that's just basically how I roll and everything. I can't rev a high level bosses, unfortunately. But how do you keep attacking as while clicking away? Basically, ability and then click, ability and click, ability and click, ability and click. Basically, just spam click while using abilities. That's how you can move while using abilities. And that allows you to kite a lot of other bosses and enemies. But yeah. Now let's go over like the basic rotations basically. So basically, DPS rotations as a whole is that, let me drain everything. So basically, DPS rotations as a whole is basically like when you start from 0%, you want to build up to your ultimate, which is basically your sunshine, basically, and then you build back to your thresholds, and then you unload them on the enemy, and then you rotate some basic and thresholds while you wait for your ultimate to come back, and then you repeat the process anew. And the balance between managing adrenaline and your thresholds is very, very important, and it's the key to a lot of success, basically. So right when you get here, you want to wild magic, and then just keep attacking, and keep attacking. Yes, definitely very doable with Revolution. So every person is different, so you know, just use what works for you and don't worry about other people. And there is room to like worry about other people if you want to like improve yourself, but at the same time, you really but like comparing yourself to other people is a bit self-destructive in my opinion. So you know, this bar is not for Revolution bars at all. This is purely manual. If you try to use this bar for Revolution, you're gonna not get very far, because Rack and Sonic Wave are at the very top, and having Rack first on your Revel bar is a death wish, basically, because you have no DPS at all. But yeah, basically, you just want to build your ultimate, which is basically your Sunshine, and then after that you go dump your thresholds on the enemy, and then you repeat. That's their DPS rotation 99% of the time. The other 1% at bosses like Nex and Rots, those die too quickly, or they have specific points that completely destroy a lot of uses for ultimates. So instead you a threshold. But overall, you really want to use your ultimate and then DPS as much as possible. Hit him as hard as you can, and then go from there. And just keep attacking. Attacking. With your thresholds and all that. With my DPM of 4 chicken and flanking 3? I don't know. I don't really check DPM at all. And just keep attacking and stuff like that. And then just finish it off. And then you can balance off like your thresholds and basics before your Sunshine gets back. As for like a basic rotation, something that I've always really liked to do is like I've always like based when I was relearning rotations in 2014. What I would do is like I will base every third ability off of my 5-second ability. In this case, our 5-second ability will be Sonic Wave, but if you're using range, it will be Dazing Shot or Needle Strike, or it will be Fury for melee, or Conch Blast if you're dual wielding magic. So basically what I'll do is like Sonic Wave, ability, Sonic Wave, ability, Sonic Wave. Basically, like every 3 abilities you use Sonic Wave. That's like a good way to rotate. Always build Adrenaline while avoiding Rack, which is 94% basic, which is one of your weakest abilities unless your target is bound. And these are Sunny Me, so I can't demonstrate it, but you get my point here. So basically, you still want to base around that. And then once you get better, then you can start basing a rotation off of Deep Breath and use like Sonic Wave as like a secondary base. But overall, when starting out, you can use like Sonic Wave as like a buff. I mean, not as a buff, as like a base, and then work your way from there, and just keep attacking like that. Just keep attacking like that. Sonic Wave back. One more basic, and then Sonic Wave, and then threshold, and then hit him hard again, and then do this, do this. And anyway, that's basically like a good way to like balance getting adrenaline and doing adequate DPS, basically. Anyway, so in the past, we used God Wars Dungeon 1 as a way to learn. Like, where's like General Guard, or it was a popular one. Kriara, Krill, and Commander Ziliana. But nowadays, they are extremely outdated because they have too low HP to really work with, and they don't really teach you anything about bosses. They're really more like glorified Slayer mobs, unfortunately. So yeah. Anyways, but that's why we have God Wars 2 bosses, which is basically like Hellweir, the Twin Furies, Vindicta, and Gregorvik, right here. These guys have far more health, and they can really help teach you how to do bosses a lot better, because while they still aren't very mechanically complex, they're like a great first step into learning PvM. And try to aim for like quicker kills by using the same like building blocks that we use, like using the build to ultimate, and then dumping your thresholds within your ultimate, and then repeating as needed. basically. So basically, before we get into God Wars 2, to recap, basically you really want to like build your ultimate as soon as possible, and then do enough damage, and then build back up using your basics. Attack, attack, attack. Then dump your thresholds, and then attack again, and then attack him again. You can use a adrenaline potion or a replenishment potion to get to your thresholds quicker, so it can do stuff like fit in 2 wild magic in your sunshine, or be able to use both assault and destroy in your berserk, stuff like that. Stuff that is like really DPS happy for you. But that's basically it. But let's go to God Wars 2 now. So God Wars 2 is like one of the best places to learn really practice your rotations. So if I go here and go to Hellweir. Hellweir is my favorite boss to as like a dummy test. So build adrenaline. This is another thing to learn right before we go to Hellweir. There's something called adrenaline stalling that you might be aware of that a lot of people do. What they do is that you build to 100% adrenaline with using something like an enemy or a combat dummy, and after that, they will start cycling between defensives in order to keep at 100% adrenaline. Because if you let yourself drop out of combat, you will lose 5% adrenaline every 1.8 seconds. Or is it 1.2 seconds? Either way, you'll lose adrenaline if you don't stall it. So use your defensive abilities right here, and in order to stall adrenaline, basically. And then I just need to build adrenaline back. And then I'll be back here. And then just stall adrenaline here. And then now we go inside Hellweir. And basically the goal here is to do as much damage as possible within our rotation. So we're gonna stun, DPS him down as much as possible with our Gen Pot, and do a lot of damage here. And then jump our thresholds here using the same basic rotation we've done. And then use Sonic Wave, rotate around your basics, keep attacking, and dump the rest of your thresholds and your sun, keep attacking. Keep attacking. And then now with your sun gone, you can now rotate your basics and your thresholds again. Ignore the boss mechanics for now. I'm just telling you like how DPS will work. So just rotate your abilities again, and just keep attacking like that. And while normally say like go use your ultimate again, if the enemy health is super low, don't bother ulting. Just finish the fight as soon as possible with your just thresholds basically. So you want to keep doing that. And at God Wars 2, if you're not really like try hard all that much, aim for sub 130. Sub 130s are good times for decent DPS overall. And then this is where stalling comes into play. You bring a shield, then you use defensives to keep at 100% adrenaline. And then here it comes. Then you stun, and then hit him. Keep using basics. Then go back to your stun, and then attack. And then attack. Keep attacking. And then Gothic Staff for extra damage because it's like a pretty good like secondary threshold overall. And just keep attacking. Rotate between your basic and thresholds. And now that your sun is worn off, do the same thing. Keep attacking him. use the rest of your thresholds. As I said before, at the end of the last kill, do not use your ultimate just yet, because if you did so, it'll be a waste of the ult. So instead, just use your thresholds to finish the fight. Try to be 100% adrenaline before every kill. So finish him off here, and he is a goner. Oh, I didn't ever realize I had that. That's pretty funny. Anyway, then you saw adrenaline again, and basically you repeat anew. All right, but that's basically like getting in down like a DPS rotation in a nutshell. It's a lot more of like a learning process of that. Because like there's boss mechanics, of course, and you gotta deal with that. But overall, you know, just keep practicing that, and if God Wars 2 is too much for you, then you can go back to God Wars 1 and practice your DPS rotations that way. But you also won't be getting as much like real. I don't want to say that you won't get like real experience if you do God Wars 1, but really, it's not like the best way to learn your DPS rotations overall as a whole. Anyway, now we get into like defensive abilities, like learning how to use the defensive abilities in your kit. Oh, I came back to get a defender, but didn't really. I forgot about that. Let me go grab it right now. I'll answer questions later, because I'm still in my lecture mode here. Where's my defender? Defender. Here you are. So, now we're gonna get into like defensive abilities. He's gonna be a bit rapid fire overall, so bear with me here. But with defensive abilities, these are things that can keep you alive without needing a lot of food. They can range from healing you from certain attacks, blocking all damage, reducing damage on one target, reducing damage from everything, and reflecting said damage back, turning your protection prayers to 100%, and even reviving you if you die, basically. So let's use Hellweir again as like an example. So I'm really not gonna DPS him down as much. So I'm gonna tank all of his mechanics and just show you where things could be useful at. So I'm just gonna be here. He's that you will bleed. That's basically one big hit, and Resonance, one of our abilities here, is like the next hit you will receive will heal you, which is very, very nice to have. And right here, he's doing like a frenzy where he hits you multiple times with melee attacks, and you'll want to reduce damage with that somehow. So that's where you'll pop something like Devotion to block all his melee hits, or you pop Debilitate or Reflect in order to reduce damage still. So let's give this a try. So we want to Resonance the hit here for 3.5k heal, and then he's gonna do his frenzy attack where we can use Devo, or we can also use Reflect to reduce some damage and reflect some damage back at him, or you can use Debilitate for him. And with multiple guys right here, that brings us to talk about another defense called Revenge. What Revenge does is that every time you take a hit, even if it splashes, your account will go up, capping at 10, where basically your DPS is going to be boosted upwards more and more, which is really, really nice if you want pretty good DPS all around. So I won't have Devotion back, so this is where Reflect will come in handy. So Reflect for reduced damage, and then he will leave behind damage over time. That's like a bleed. Freedom clears bleeds for the most part. There are some bleeds that you cannot clear with Freedom, like Telos's virus, but overall you'll be able to do that. Also, if you want to just get away from Hellweir's frenzy instead of just tanking it with defensives, you can put on Devotion while these wolves are hitting you, and then go from there. So if you want to like surge away, that's like an alternative way, but that's not really like focused on defensives. So bear that Bear that in mind. These you cannot reduce, unfortunately, because there are some types of typeless damage that you cannot reduce at all. So that's a bit unfortunate. So yeah, there's one big hit here. You will bleed, res it, and that's basically like a prime way to get a good resonance. A big part of tanking in any boss is like really knowing when to use resonance and when not to use resonance. Sometimes it's telegraphed like that and hold still invader from Telos, but other times there's like an optimal time to use resonance and stuff like that. And the trick of tanking bosses at anything is knowing when to use what ability at what time. I'm simplifying it to a huge degree here, but that's basically what tanking is. So yeah, that's basically it. That's basically the basics of tanking. There's a lot more that goes into it, as I said, but overall, as I said before, tanking can sometimes be a bit easier than full-out DPSing, if that makes any sense. Because while tanking might be a bit scary for newcomers, it also has like tanking flat out is like a lower skill ceiling, if that makes any sense. Because like there's only so many defensive abilities that you can do. You have so little compared to all the offensive stuff that you have right here. Like all the defensive stuff that you can do is confined here. Meanwhile, all the offensive stuff is spread across all around, like right here, and it doesn't even stop there. It can even extend to the inventory as well. So yeah. Now, Hellware is a great boss, but he is still only one boss. Eventually, you're gonna figure him out, and eventually, that means that you can't really make the most out of him in terms of like learning anymore. That's where you can hop into other bosses like Elite Dungeons and Telos. Telos is a great mix between tanking and DPS, but he's also very mechanically complex. So, give me a sec, guys. But just be forewarned that Telos' mechanical complexity might be a bit of a turnoff if you're looking for something that's a lot more approachable, even at 0%, because even at 0%, he can still have a lot of things to just really note down for yourself. Another option is Elite Dungeons. Elite Dungeons is like the doubling down of Fast Scholars 2 bosses, where you would do nothing but DPS down things and deal with the mechanics from there. Like if we're taking like Elite Dungeon 3 for example, where you have to deal with like mechanics with Terra Kit and the Crassian Leviathan and the Ambassador while maintaining a good DPS rotation. Those are good in teaching you how to react to mechanics while maintaining your top DPS rotation as a whole. So make sure that whenever you're practicing your DPS rotation with like a boss mechanic, you juggle between DPS and killing. You juggle between DPS and DPS and mechanics. Alright. Now, there's no real set way to learn tanking, despite what I pointed out at Hellware, because tanking is everyone needs a tank, but not everyone needs a tank, but not everyone needs like a DPS. So just learn however you feel like it. Like another great place to learn tanking is raids, and I'm gonna demonstrate right here. So if I make a group and go to Yakamaru right now. It's not complete. And I can choose to fight Yakamaru in practice. And I can just practice tanking Yakamaru right here, right now. So if I go here and just tap on Yakamaru right here. I can just get on Yako here and just learn how to tank here. It's good. Now, granted, this is gonna be a lot different from like normal kills because you're gonna be tanking. You're gonna be getting jellies on you, and you have to just run around and stuff like that. So that will be a bit weird. But you can also look at that as like practice for North tanking as well. So reflect here for damage reduction, and then stack the bill on him. Attack him. Devo at high stacks. Well, I'm using Yaka as an example. He does have boss specific mechanics like the stacks. So keep an eye out for that. Freeing him to half your stacks so you take less damage now. And then reflect. And then just go over around him. And you can also debuild not Telos, Yakamaru for more damage reduction. And you can also barricade as well. Going here. You can also just you can also go MD, you're taking magic hits, because with magic that hits less than range hits as a whole. So reflect. You can just get out here. And then Devo. Basically stuff like that. And yeah, that was a death there. But you get my point there. You can practice tanking wherever you can. And just like go to practice mode and then just play it by ear, just learn tanking. There are multiple ways to learn tanking, and as long as you can like survive for like a good 5 minutes or so on like a inventory of food with no yak, then you could consider yourself like ready for something like sand tanking or even base tank if you're feeling ballsy, stuff like that. So tanking is also another big thing to learn, and the quicker you can learn how to tank, the better you can learn boss mechanics and learn how to properly translate that into DPS rotations to take advantage of like the best time to DPS in between mechanics. Like say at Hellware, like we're gonna use Hellware again as another example, but like you basically you'll figure out when to like move out of the way. Let's go back to Hellware to really put this into perspective. So you go into Hellware and like you really like DPS him down, and you really like get to grips on what he's really doing. So like he's gonna do his you will plead right very soon. So since I know it's gonna come up, I can just move out of the way and completely dodge it, and I don't need to just like tank it completely. And for the frenzy, I can just escape from it and not care about it at all, and then just focus on DPS and even soul split as well. And then do some damage, more damage, and then wall magic, and then do all this stuff. He does that, but if it appears in this vicinity, I just move away. He'll do you'll bleed again, move out of the way, and then go back in your sun, and then hit Telos more. And he's gonna do a frenzy again, so you can escape, and then get away. And then do more DPS. But that's basically like the main. That's basically like the main point I'm trying to make. That like once you know like when mechanics come, as like demonstrated before when we did a lot of that 3.5 minute kill with Hellware. If you understand boss mechanics the most because you spent time taking them, then you'll be able to like more easily piece together how to DPS around those mechanics. Did I say Telos? Either way, like Hellware, Telos, it doesn't really matter what boss. the more you like tank them, the more you realize like, oh, I could DPS him through here, or I could like DPS him through there, and stuff like that. And slowly they kind of feed into each other in terms of like being able to tank better or DPS better. But yeah, that's basically that. And really, the last big thing I really have to say is that try to be versatile every single boss, because every single boss has like a different like sort of skill required to beat them. Next, for example, heavily discourages ultimates. You can't really use ultimates because she has 40k HP per phase, and her minions take heavily reduced damage if they're above 1k. So ultimates aren't very good. So you have to stick to just thresholds for most of the time. Except for one phase where you can onslaught, but that's like a different topic. Overall, and then there's other things like elite dungeons that also require you to be good at clearing mobs at a time to get to the other bosses quicker, etc. Basically. And then you got Telos that demands you to balance tanking and DPS at a moment's notice with multiple things, even at your highest rages and beyond. I think that's it for now. Does anyone have any questions, or are we good? Oh yeah, actually one more thing. Group bosses. There are a bunch of like group bosses that you could always get to grips with. Because like Virago and Raids are like the two top group bosses if you want to learn more about PvM, because both are, for the most part, mechanically intensive bosses. Raids a bit less so, but you get my point. And they're really good at getting you into like learning mechanics, dealing with mechanics, and then using those mechanics against the boss in order to facilitate more survivability or DPS. I'm gonna answer like overall questions regarding like getting into PvM, not like boss specific questions now. Invention perks for new to PvMing. Okay, so invention is like another thing I should have said is like essential. Some perks are like really easy to get, like Enhanced Devoted 3 right around here. Enhanced Devoted 3 is one of the easiest perks to get because all you need is 5 faceted, and you can get faceted by disassembling stuff like crystal flasks, and these get faceted, and you could use these to get you can use them to get Enhanced Devoted 3, which is one of the best perks in the game, and but it will increase your survivability at any boss by a metric ton, basically. It's something, yeah. Anyway, and then you got other things like Bite, and then like Impatient 3. Impatient 3 is pretty easy to get if all you do is like buy Zerosian stuff. Like, so if you buy like Virtus gloves, you can use these to disassemble, and then you can use, and then it'll get like use 5 Zeros components for Impatient 3. Pretty easy. And then you have Biting 2 with 5 direct. And you also have Crackling 3, which is 4 explosive, 1 magical. So it's basically like, if you want Crackling 3, you do this, basically. This is the best way to get Crackling 3 on its own. Zamorak War Priest is also a bit time consuming to get. I don't really like Zamorak War Priest to get. It's just a bit annoying to get. Anyway. Also for beginners. Precise 5 is also another good one. Like, Precise 5 is easily obtained through 5 Armadillo components. Do I have any armor build components? I do not have any armor build components. So basically, with 5 armor build components, you can get one of the best DPS perks in the entire game for free on your weapon. So if we put it right here, you get 5 precise, and it's 100% guaranteed here. And you can also do like 5 rumbling for Equilibrium 3 as well. And stack precise 5 and Equilibrium 3 together for a very good budget perk. Although to be fair, rumbling components also require 99 invention, so that's not as good of a thing unless you're like really poor and you still have 99 invention for some reason. And then I will make my own spreadsheet of perks later, but that's basically like the gist of it overall. Like, just get like the cheap perks that are also really good, and then go from there. Let me show you my current gear. This is the gear I have: Crackling 3 and Mobile, which is like reduces the cooldown of Surge, Escape, Blade Dive, Barge, and Mutated Barge to 10 seconds. They don't get injured, but that's not a problem except for Barge. Biting 3, which is a step above Biting 2, but much more expensive. Then we have Enhanced Devoted 3, and we have Impatient 3, Devoted 2. These two actually do stack. It says it does not stack with Devoted, but it actually does stack because like it stacks a bit weirdly. It's like if one of them procs like internal cooldown, but the other one doesn't. It's just kind of weird. Anyways, but yeah, that's basically that covers invention as a whole. There's probably like a good resource for optimal invention perks out there. So on the internet, but overall, if you want like budget perks, you go to Biting 2, Crackling 3, Impatient 3, Enhanced Devoted 3, basically, and Precise 5, Equilibrium 2 with like 5 precise. So if you like use 5 precise, you can get Equilibrium 2 fairly easily with this. Yeah, PvMe also has a great list of perks to get overall. Anyway, I think that answers the invention question. Let me look through everything else here. So I'm trying to improve my DPS. My question is, should I spam keybinds to do my rotation, or should I try not to spam them at each GCD? Well, less spam the better, in my opinion. I don't really spam, but you could spam possibly like the auto attack and the ability. Don't spam the weapons, I feel like, because the weapons might not feel that good. So like when you're just attacking over and over. Let me teleport to Lumbridge to demonstrate. Oops. So I'm gonna fortick this all. Do I have? I don't have anything. So I'm gonna swap back to Ancients. Wait, no, that's not Ancient. Swap to Ancients. Blood Barrage. And then we do this. I just like do one quick formation there. That was weird. One quick swift motion there. One quick swift motion, and just do that. I wouldn't really spam it. Instead, I'll just learn the timing, and I feel like that will be more responsive that way, in my opinion. If you just did it one quick rotation instead of like spamming. I don't even know how you would spam anyway. Also, if you're like spamming spells, you like stop yourself sometimes, like that. Sometimes it'll just override your movement, and it will kill you pretty badly. Hopefully that answers the question, LDRs. Are you doing anything on 4TA? No, I'm not gonna try to complicate things. 4TA is like a more advanced technique that's also pretty convoluted. I just really want to focus on things that are a lot more like intuitive to grasp. In terms of like 4TA, I think that's something to learn elsewhere, or you can ask me at a different time. For now, though, this is more like getting people into PvM, not scaring away from how bad of a mechanic 4TA actually really is. Wait a minute. Oh, you're not talking about 4ticking. I'm sorry, I completely filled in the gaps with my mind. Anyway, but I would not spam either way. I just hit things one at a time. Sorry, but my apologies. But yeah, I would just do one hit at a time. And because I have ability queuing on, that means I can just do one quick stroke like this. So I'm gonna hit Sonic Wave and Corruption at the same time. Basically, it queues up Corruption at like that, and then I can just relax just like this with 2 quick motions like that. That's basically why I really love ability queuing the way it is. Ping is pretty small, 47. And also, if you spam detonate and don't queue it up, you might actually like prematurely blow it up. Like, I'm gonna wait for it to come back, but this is what happens if you spam click detonate. Ability queuing will only get you killed if you don't know how to properly manage it. And even then, ability queuing has amazing uses for switch cape. So if you queue up this, because it has a lower priority, you're able to just like check this out. So this is queued up. At the very last tick, I can wall magic. Very last tick, I can wall magic. I can Sonic Wave, not wall magic for Conk Blast. I mean, like I can Conk Blast immediately, stuff like that. It's just very, very convenient to use overall. But even if you spam with queuing on, you can still do that. But if you want to clear a queue, you have to switch bars. Here, this is what I mean by like switching bars. So like, I'm gonna do up my adrenaline here. So notice how I'm queued up Sunshine. But if I switch to my magic bar again, I destroy the queue without needing to like press Shift 3 again. So like, check this out. Not pressing Shift 3, I'm pressing V instead, which is my magic bar swap to, and it clears the queue. That's how I can use ability queuing so effectively. Detonate all attack at the same time. Okay, so basically what you do is that you basically just do try up to detonate. Let me load up my. Where is everything? Here it is. Documents, ability tracker, RS keybinds. Alright, here it is. So, you charge up detonate, and what you do is that you want to press your auto attack and detonate at the exact same time. So, auto detonate. Oh, that failed. Oops. That's embarrassing. But basically, the gist of it is that you press auto detonate at the same time. Auto comes first and then detonate. So let's wait. Followed by ability, yes. 3 attacks. Although detonate ability in that order, yes, indeed. So once more. Deep Breath for Wall Magic or Tsunami. What armor am I using? I'm using Ecto. You get this from raids. So charge up detonate again. auto detonate while magic, 3 hit splats appear. That's basically how it works. What perks they should use for invention? Biting, if you're starting out, biting 2, crackling 3, impatient 3, enhanced devoted 3 on your armor. On your weapons, precise 5, and equilibrium 2. But the ones I use is crackling 3 mobile, biting 3, impatient 3, enhanced devoted 3. And on my weapons, I have Precise 4, Equilibrium 2 on 1 Gizmo, and Aftershock 3, which is the best DPS. But if you're starting off, then use like the weaker perks, and then build up to like the stronger perks that you'll get from PvMing as a whole. Anyway. But yes, PvMe also has a perk guide, so I won't go too deep into perks. All right, I think all the questions got answered in terms of like the lecture thing. So I'm gonna call it a wrap here in terms of like the lecture. But we're gonna resume with 750% Telos.